Yeah, I'll take that one. No, not that one. You. I suppose you're programmed for etiquette and protocol.
Protocol? Why, it's my primary function, sir. I am well versed in all the customs.
I have no need for a protocol droid.
Of course you haven't, sir. Not in an environment such as this. That is why I've also been programmed for over 30 seconds.
What I really need is a droid that can understand the binary language of moisture evaporators.
Evaporators? Sir, my first job was programming binary load lifters, very similar to your evaporators in most respects.
Do you speak Bocce?
Of course I can, sir. It's like a secondary language for me. I'm as fluent in
All right,
Bocce.
shut up. I'll take this one.
Shutting up, sir.
Luke,
Yeah, Uncle Owen?
take these two over to the garage, will you? I want you to have them both cleaned up before dinner.
But I was going into Tasha's station to pick up some power converters.
You can waste time with your friends when your chores are done. Now come on, get to it.
Alright, come on. And the red one, come on. Well, come on, Red, let's go. Uncle Owen,
Yeah?
this R2 unit has a bad motivator, look.
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
Excuse me, sir, but that R2 unit is in prime condition. A real bargain.
Uncle Owen,
Yeah?
what about that one?
What about that blue one? We'll take that one.
Yeah, take it away.
I'm quite sure you'll be very pleased with that one, sir. He really is in first-class condition. I've worked with him before. Here he comes. Now, don't you forget this. Why I should stick my neck out for you is quite beyond my capacity.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Epic Toyetic. I'm your host, Chris, and I have this young lady with me. We're going to be making some new episodes with a new format and some new ideas, and we're going to show you some more Star Wars toys and fun video games, board games, some vintage stuff, maybe some newer stuff. Today we're going to be talking about Kenner's vintage Jawa action figure. This was one of the first 12 action figures released, so it was part of Kenner's initial design for action figures before the movie was even out. Hey, Sos, when you think about Jawas in the movie, what would you say is the essence of a Jawa? What would you say is the most defining and striking characteristic of a Jawa when you first see them on screen in Star Wars?
I would say it's glowing eyes.
Right, the eyes, right?
Yes.
They're little critters with light bulbs for eyes. They have the glow, and they're kind of creepy. You know the one scene where R2-D2 is going in the valley, and then
You just see them behind like the rock, and they're just...
Oh, you know, the one scene, I can remember watching this as a kid. It's like a little canyon, and there's this narrow little cliff, and he passes through, and as he looks, the little Jawa kind of like goes right into the cliff.
Yeah, I remember that.
That image kind of gives me chills, and it kind of creeps me out, you know?
Ooh, it does.
Because you don't really know what these things are, but they've got these little glowing eyes, and so definitely that's the thing about a Jawa. If there's one thing to a Jawa, it's glowing eyes. But if you look at this toy, what would you say is the most striking characteristic of the toy?
I'd of course say the robe, the cloth robe.
Right. I mean, that's mostly what this figure is a cloth robe. That's kind of just all you see there. It's an interesting thing about this figure too, because let's look at this card back. I have a Star Wars 12 back. It's a 12 back A. There's also descriptions of the first 12, and they tell how tall the figure is, and then it also describes what their action feature is, or what their, just like a little bit of copy, a little blurb to kind of like tell you what this figure is all about. So, for example, I'm going to read here: Luke Skywalker, 3 3/4 inches with action lightsaber. For Jawa, it says 2 1/4 inches with shining eyes and laser gun. So clearly, they think the distinguishing characteristic about a Jawa is its shining eyes, and of course they do have a little laser pistol here. You can see that it comes with. That's sort of modeled after the one in the movie. But the eyes, Sophs, what are the eyes on this figure?
They're paint.
2 little dots of yellow paint, right?
Yep.
So, Sophs, why do you think that if the most obvious thing about this toy is the cloth robe, that the packaging doesn't mention that that's a feature?
I really don't know.
It's an interesting answer. It has to do with the history of this figure. Collectors for decades have known that the first Jawa figure that was available on these cards had a vinyl cape. It was a lot like the cape that came on Ben Kenobi and Princess Leia. But those are exceedingly rare now because early on in production they changed it to this cloth version. But the problem is, if you look on this card back, if you read, say, Ben Kenobi, it says, with action lightsaber and removable cape. Or if you look at Princess Leia, it says, has a removable cape and laser pistol. So why then, if these other figures had vinyl capes, and the Jawa initially on these cards had a vinyl cape, why doesn't the card back mention the Jawa's removable cape?
Well, actually, it initially didn't have a cape at all. It was just the plastic, just like this right here.
What does it look like? Here, let's move this guy over a little bit and have a look at what the figure looks like under the robe. What can you tell us about the figure here? What does it look like? What sort of distinguishing features does it have?
Well, it has this belt strapped across its chest.
Yeah, let's turn it around here.
And then it has its eyes right here. So mainly the people would probably focus on the eyes instead of just the robe because it didn't have one.
Yeah, the robe was just part of the sculpt, right?
Yes.
But yeah, it's really interesting that none of the figures were actually sold that way. Because that was the first plan, though, was just the Jawa figure on the card, just as you see it here with the laser pistol. And that was not known to Star Wars collectors for many years until you can read this whole story, by the way, on the Star Wars Collectors Archive. I highly recommend it. This real incredible story was a collector out of Canada named Ross Cuddy happened to find a Star Wars lot on eBay, and among that lot he found work documents, vintage paper documents from Kenner.
Change notices.
In particular, this one change notice that was to change to change the Jawa figure from having no cape to having the vinyl cape, and then quickly after that we can assume, even though I don't think anybody has ever found this change notice, but there was probably a change notice because that's how they did business, to change from the vinyl cape to the cloth one. And if you look at the little thing, I've actually shown it before in an episode when we were talking about these capes. I'll show it here again. It gives the dimensions and color specifications, and it says for a marketing edition. So clearly it seems like they realized that maybe customers wouldn't be too keen to buy these little tiny figures that were the same price as bigger ones with more exciting features. So they added a vinyl cape and then a cloth cape. Still though,
which I think it's fair.
I think it's totally fair. I mean, I like seeing it. You know,
Yeah.
Somebody clearly, I think, early on would have had this idea, because now that the Toys That Made Us has come out on Netflix, we have heard the story of the Kenner guy that sculpted a Jawa out of his sock, or he basically cut off his dress socks. He was wearing brown socks, and he made a little Jawa figure. And you can see photographs online on that too, on the Star Wars Collectors Archive, the SWCA.com. I'm going to link to it. I should probably just link to it on all of our videos, because I end up always talking about something from that website. It's just so incredible. Hey, after Sophia and I were talking about the Jawa, and we were talking about the vinyl cape and the cloth cape, I thought it was really a shame that I don't have one in my collection to show you. So I wanted to get my buddy Scott Terry on here to talk to us about the vinyl cape Jawa, and a special story of when he found one. So, Scott.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing?
Hi. Good.
Awesome. So, so tell me about this. Set the stage for me. This was like how long ago?
June 12th, 2016.
2016. So it's been a few years ago now. And how did you become aware of this vinyl cape Jawa that we're talking about here?
Well, my girlfriend sent me a message, and I believe I sent a picture of it on the phone to you. She found a lot on Facebook. It was like a flea market page or something.
Right. So this was like a Star Wars collectors page or something like that?
It was just a random local flea market Facebook page. And this woman posted it.
Like just random bric-a-brac that you might have. Not necessarily, like, not a place that Star Wars collectors would go to.
No, almost like a Craigslist type of thing.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And so this you weren't even on this site, right? This was something that your girlfriend
was. She's the one that discovered it.
So what happened? Did she just come across this?
She found the page. Well, she's on the page, and she found the photo. She sent the photo over to me. I was getting ready to leave for work soon, And she goes, "What do you think about this? Is there anything interested in here that you would want?" And I looked at it and I'm like, "Oh, there's some interesting stuff." And then I noticed it. I'm like, "There's no way there's two of what I'm thinking there is. There's no way." So anyway, I look at the picture again. I zoom in on it, and I'm like, "That can't be two vinyl Cape Jawas."
Yeah.
So
And I can imagine.
I,
Because if I put myself in that position and I'm looking at a photo like that, not one but two of these things. They're so super rare. If you
mhm,
if you wanted to go on eBay or you wanted to go on the Facebook groups that we're in right now and buy two of these vinyl Cape Jawas, what would you be looking to put down? Would you
easily
say?
2,500. I would
Yeah,
say 2,500 for the pair.
I'd say you're pretty spot on. 2,500 something like that these days, and that just keeps going up and up.
Yeah.
So somebody has a picture on the Facebook flea market site,
Yeah.
and it's not just the Jawas. It's I'll show the photo. You gave me the photo of
Yeah.
the
There's
listing.
a boat set in
Yeah.
there, R5D4, Red Snag, like nice figures. Nothing out really stood out. There's a couple cloth Cape Jawas too.
Right. Right.
So,
But just
I,
just casually sitting there among all these figures, you have these two Final Cape Jawas.
too.
Right. Right. So.
So, looking at it, I panic because I'm like, oh my God. So I contacted a couple people. I contacted Ross Barr because I knew him and I sort of had a relationship with him, talking to him on Facebook Messenger.
Right.
Excuse me.
Nice guy.
I said, "What do you think of this?" And he goes, "Wow, that looks like it might be two bundle Cape Jawas." I'm like, "Excuse me," I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Um, what do I do?" He's like, "Well, try to get eyes on them in person and see what they are." And I messaged somebody else and they told me what to look for. A crash course.
Mhm.
Look for the holes that are tight around the arms.
So
Look for
what? Just in case it's not. Let me start to interrupt you. Just in case it's not clear what you're talking about is what you're looking for is to make sure that they're not fake. Because
exactly.
in this hobby, as with any other, anytime that you have something that's really valuable and a lot of money is involved and changes hands, there's a high temptation for a scam. And and these people are known to to make fake capes out of various things and put on these and call them vinyl cape Jawas and sell them for a lot of money, right?
Vinyl Cape Jawas are notorious for that. Chris, I can't think of another figure that's more notoriously known for being faked other than that. I don't know. If you can think of one.
I can't because the thing about it is it's just the cape that makes it so rare, and the figure
Mhm.
itself is like figures that you can get with the cloth cape. So it's easy enough if you can just fashion a vinyl cape somehow. I know there's been people that have done. At one point, people would take Obi-Wan Kenobi capes and sort of like get the pattern and cut it down. You
Mhm.
can. That's one of the ones that you can tell because the color is not quite right.
Mhm. Oh, I know somebody who was scammed, who's a toy dealer,
Well,
who's been dealing toys for 25 years. About 6 months ago, he had it sitting away in his collection. He finally pulled it out, and he wanted to go get it graded, and he didn't like. I didn't get a chance to look at it. Not that I'm an authority, but since I have a basis to compare it to, I figured I'd take a look at it. But he sent it off to get it graded, and it was not what it was.
oh wow, wow. So they rejected it for grading.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. See, that's it's such a shame. It's one of those things. I don't collect graded figures. I collect loose figures. It's not that I'm against it necessarily. It's just not my thing. But this might be one of those cases where you might be wise to pay a little bit extra to get one that's graded because it's been authenticated already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good move to do, really. So
But
I kind of
but,
went into
but you,
this.
these they're the ones that you're talking about in this Facebook post. They're not graded. They're just loose in an action
Yeah,
figure case, right?
action figure case, Star
Yeah.
Wars action figure case. Yep. So I'm taking a crash course on this. I forget the other collector I was talking to, but he was telling me other things to look for. The snug armholes, the pattern on the cape. Is there a zip pattern? All that stuff. Check the coup. Country of origin. Um, all that. The eyes. If the eyes are big enough, because if they're small, that's usually a later produced figure, like in Jedi. On the Jedi cards, I think the eyes are smaller. So the eyes are usually always bigger on the earlier releases. So anyway, I had to go to work. So my girlfriend lived literally 10 minutes away from this seller's house. So, and she kind of like lives in like out in the sticks from Philadelphia.
Right. Right.
So I said to her, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to work. Contact her if you can. Go over there and look at it in person. And I told her what to look for. So she goes in, she checks out the figures, and she calmly, I said, calmly, nonchalantly, look at the Vinyl Cape Jawas and tell me what you think. So I'm in the middle of my work, my shift at work. I work in a restaurant. It was Friday night, so we were getting killed with all these
Yeah.
tables.
Oh, yeah.
I stepped outside in the middle of my shift and called her, and she goes, I think they're real. I was over there, just
God
got
bless your
back in.
girlfriend for going and authenticating these figures for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I told them what to look for. They seem to meet the criteria. And so we had first crack at it. The next morning, we had to be there by 9 a.m. because she had other people wanting to look at it too.
Yeah, that's
the nice thing is, and the weird thing is, somehow she knows the seller's sister, because it was a woman who was selling it.
Oh, right.
So she knew the sister somehow through something, I don't know, locally or whatever. So she goes, okay, my boyfriend wants to come. He's very interested. He will be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp. So I contacted my buddy Sean because he was interested in it too. I told him, I'm like, look, I don't know what this is, but are you interested? He's like, yes. So I said, listen, you got to be here to pick me up at like 8:15, no later in the morning. And we both had to go to work after that. Excuse me. So he picks me up. He was kind of like in a bad mood because he wasn't feeling good. He had like some kind of cold going on. I don't know. And I was really getting pumped up about this. Even Ross Barr messaged me that morning. He's like, are you excited about this?
Yeah.
Because I was giving him updates on what was going on. And so anyway, he's like, good luck. You know, keep calm. Basically, don't blow it.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what the price is? What she was asking?
I've been
Now?
waiting to ask you. Yeah, I want to know, like, what was did she have a price on the thing on the listing, or was it?
She wanted to sell the whole lot. She didn't want to break up the figures. She just wanted to sell them as they were. There was
As a
21
lot.
figures. Yeah,
21
figures all together.
Uh-huh.
$400.
Oh my God. Just the other figures in that photo, it would and the case. It's
If the two Vinyl Cape Jawas weren't there, that's basically what the whole lot would have been worth.
Yeah.
If the two weren't there, it's pretty much like, all right, that's an okay deal.
Yeah.
Because the other figures are in excellent, phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
None of them were really played with at all.
They do look nice, and the Jawas themselves. It's really crazy how nice they are. They've just been sitting in this action figure case for how long? Did she have a story as to how she had them or why she was selling them?
She had a really thick Polish accent. She's like, I know nothing about the Star Wars.
Gładnie, or however you say the bootlegs.
So apparently, I don't know. It's a little unclear. She acquired it somehow through cleaning somebody's house out. And she had him for, I don't know, like 10 years. She forgot about him, but needed to sell them because she was going to get a divorce. So she needed fast money. That's the one part I remember that was clear. Like she needed to make fast cash.
Right.
All right. So sorry if I'm jumping around here a little bit, but we're back in the car. We're driving there. And Sean's like, how much does she want? I said 400. He's like, we should try to see if we can get it for 3. Like, we're not doing that. We're just going to do the $400, call it a day, and that's that. If it is what it is, $400 will still get away with murder. He's like, no, we should all for 3.
Just the two Jawas. Just put down to the $400 and shake her hand and walk out the door.
Exactly.
Then run to your car.
So I told him, I'm like, don't blow this for me. We're just going to do the 4. He's like, no, we're going to do 3. It was literally like we were having an argument about this, going into a drug deal from a movie. You know what I mean? Like, no, don't screw it up. We're going to take the bags of Coke for 20 grand and we're going to leave. He's like, don't screw this. I'm like, don't screw this up for me. Anyway, we go there and it's literally almost like a farm. Like it was in the middle, like a house in the middle of like a big field, and they had a side porch. We pull up. My girlfriend's in her car right behind us. We say hi, all that, and she has the case. And she shows us the case, almost like it's a drug deal. And we're looking at the product, like we're looking at it, and I'm holding a Vinyl Cape Jawa, and my hand's starting to shake a little bit because I knew what I was looking at. Once I saw it, I knew. Even though I never had it in my hand.
I have that experience all the time. You see something that's in a photo and you're not really sure, but there's this moment when you see it in person and you just know, you know what to look for, and you just feel the authenticity on it.
Yeah, I can feel that it was a Kenner cape. I'm like, all right, this is real.
Did you do the zippy thing on the?
Yeah, I did that. I looked at it, and it was what it
Scratch
was.
it on one side and it makes a little zippy sound. Yeah.
I looked at the armholes. The armholes were tight where they should be. The capes were phenomenal. I mean, every figure was pretty much perfect. So then Sean goes, "Would you do 300 for everything?" And she goes, "No, no, no, no. I know what these are worth." Like, all right, you know what they're worth.
Lady knows her
400
business.
bucks it is.
I said, yeah, give her the 400.
Yeah. So we gave. I threw in $200. He threw in $200. We shook hands and left. But before we left, she said she had more stuff too, but she just had to find it. She never contacted us again.
Oh.
We tried to contact her a couple other times, but she never contacted us again. So she did kind of scam us on that end.
Well, yeah, I always ask if they have more. Yeah.
Yeah. But she never contacted Tracy about it, and Tracy reached out to him a couple times. I'm like, yeah, we'll get back to you, but never did. So, what happened then? So then we left, and then we went to McDonald's to celebrate. I was really stoked. He wasn't feeling good. He was still like feeling nauseous or whatever. He was sick that day, so he wasn't as pumped up as I was, because he still had some reservations that they might not be real. I'm like, listen, I know in my gut they're real.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no
the real
expert,
deal.
but I knew they're the real deal. And I took a picture of them. I remember this. I took a picture of them in the case. That picture I sent you when they're both in the case.
Yeah, I'll have those photos up while we're on the video while you're telling the story, so everybody can see what we're talking about.
So I took the pictures while we're driving home in the car, and I posted them in 12-back group, and I quoted that line from Point Break.
Point Break, right? Gary
Busey is sitting in the car. He's telling Keanu Reeves to get him meatball sandwiches, the best he ever tasted. And he goes to get them, and he reminds me, he's like, "Utah, give me 2." So I put that as a quote. I'm like, "Utah, give me 2." And I
this is on the 12-backs page with the Jawas.
Yeah, it was on 12.
Oh, man.
So I kind of like that little quote I put in there. I was really proud of it. So anyway, the next day, Sunday night, we divvy up the figures. So he decides, obviously he took one Jawa, I took the other.
Right.
And then we had to decide, okay, who gets the Fett? Who gets the X-Wing Luke? Who gets the red Snag? Who gets R5? All that stuff. So that's pretty much it.
You got half the figures in vinyl cape. You got half the figures. He got half the vinyl cape Jawa each. $200 each.
Yep.
Sounds great to me.
I know.
I'd do that deal again. I'd do it the next day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever get that lucky again.
You never know. These wild finds.
Oh yeah.
That is a hell of a wild find. That's a hell of a story of a wild find. It's really remarkable that you found not one but 2 in such perfect condition for such a price.
And that fueled my desire to collect more loose figures.
Oh, is that when you got back into collecting?
I mean, I was collecting before that, but not as driven.
Yeah.
As I was,
That sort of happened to me when I found the early bird set, because I hadn't really been buying for years, and then I happened to find this in a store where you wouldn't look for Star Wars figures, and it's a really good price. And the same thing happened to me. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that story's more crazier than mine.
What, the early bird story?
Yeah, I love your early bird story.
Yeah, we've both been pretty lucky with wild finds. I think we're both, or at least one of us, is going to be due for one here soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You know how ever watch mob movies? And they talk, oh, you made your bones when you did that, like when you whacked your first guy or you did something.
Yeah.
You made your bones. That's where I made my bones.
That's where you made your Star Wars collector bones. You're a made man now, Scott.
Made or not, but it's nice.
Right on. Hey man, thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
I'm going to cut back to the me and Sophia part of the show now, and we'll talk about something that isn't Jawa capes.
Okay.
See you later, man.
Good night. See you later.
But let's talk about the eyes, though. So, what do you think maybe they could have done better if they had had the time or the budget? What are some other ideas that you might have?
This modern one right here has a little window in the top of its head. It uses refraction, so the light will come into the window, and then it'll come out of the eyes and make them glow.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. And I used to play with these a lot, and I remember when I was really little, my dad would show me this, and he was like, hold it up to the window, Sophia. And then once I saw its eyes glow, I was like, whoa. I didn't know like it could do that. I didn't know how that works.
Let's keep it there. Let's have a look at it for a while. It's kind of like magic, isn't it? The light goes in the top, and I would say that these are Power of the Force 2 figures. They came out in the 90s, which is incidentally why these are mostly the ones that we played with. We didn't really want to play with my vintage ones. We didn't want to mess those up.
I might have broken.
And
things.
I mean, we played with these figures since the time you were 2-3 years old. So that's not really a big deal that we played with the new ones.
10 or 11 years.
But I remember when I was little, Kenner had a line of DC superheroes called Kenner Superpowers. Like the one, the Wonder Woman that Paige has?
Yes.
That's a Superpowers figure. And there was a whole line of those, and I loved those as a kid. And there's a DC villain called Darkseid, and he has these glowing red eyes, and it uses the same technology just like this.
That sounds cool.
I had another toy, I think it was the Inhumanoids line, which was like this big granite rock monster with these big glowing green eyes that had basically the same thing. So it was definitely a thing in the 80s. But here we're talking about the late 70s, and Star Wars hadn't even come out yet when they're designing these figures. As we mentioned before, they don't know that it's going to be a success. They think the movie's going to be long gone by the time the figures come out, and they'll have to sell the figures without a movie to support it. Nobody knows that Star Wars is going to be so huge. So for budget reasons, they put the little dots of paint in the Jawas' eyes, and that's what we get. It's part of the vintage figures.
I mean,
charm
it's
now.
not a bad thing.
Not a bad
I don't
thing
know
at
if
all.
anyone could have actually thought of that, but it's good enough.
It would be a good question. That would be something that would be interesting and worth researching for me to look back online and see when was the earliest figure or the earliest toy or the earliest example of technology like that. Because I was 2 years old in 1980, so I don't really remember toys in the 70s. The earliest toy I remember that had that was, as far as I can remember, it was Darkseid and the Inhumanoids, the other guy too. Well, there's another cute little Jawa that we can talk about that has another strategy.
Yeah.
What is this one here you have?
This is the Burger King toy. I think it's very cute because it's a plushie, and if you press on its stomach, its little eyes glow. And I think that feature is really adorable because, it's with other toys, I've noticed if you press on their tummy, they, say something or something happens. And so it's, the same concept for this one, except its eyes glow.
This one's definitely super cute. And it's really, though, as far as the glowing eyes go, that's the one that's the most like the one in the movie because they had electric lights in the costumes.
Yep.
So that's interesting. What about earlier we saw the scene where Luke is helping his uncle buy the droids from the Jawas, and we don't have this full playset, but you may have noticed there's a little plastic sandy base that we had there. So what is that from?
That is from the Land of the Jawas playset. It has a sandcrawler on it, but we don't have that right now.
And do you know what that sandcrawler was made of?
Plastic?
No, it was just made of cardboard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. See, this playset it had the plastic base, and it had the little elevator that really worked, but the elevator just clamped on to this little slot in the cardboard. So it was just a cardboard backdrop, and that's really why that it was. You don't see those very much anymore because cardboard doesn't stand up. I mean, I say
Cardboard
that as I fiddle with the card back, but there's plenty of these around, folks. You can find them. We just don't have one. It's not really something I'm interested in getting unless I happen to find one in a wild find or something sometime. But we just watched the Kenner commercial for that, and it's really it's kind of cool because you see the kids playing with the Jawa and using the elevator, and the one kid's like,
and you could see it in like perfect condition and being played with in action.
And it does come with the escape pod. You know the escape pod I have up in my R2 and 3PO display? There's a little escape pod, you know, the little gray escape pod?
Yeah, I know.
That came with the Land of the Jawas playset. So that was cool that you could
it was.
You could play R2 and 3PO leaving Princess Leia's ship, and that was the only way to get that part of it. But it's worth watching those old commercials too. It's a little bit hokey, but the one kid cracks me up when R2's like, "I'm out of here," and then the kid gets a Jawa and goes, "Me too."
Yeah, yeah, I saw that. It's very funny.
Yeah. Well, I really hope you guys have enjoyed talking about the Jawa and listening to some of our stories and a little bit of the history of this figure and seeing some of the modern versions. And we'll be coming back at you with another episode, and stay tuned. But thank you very much for tuning in to Epic Toyetic.
Yes, thank
and
you.
We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you.